And welcome and thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored. It's a situation that can give the most even-tempered parents a headache. The inability to get their adult children out of their homes and out of their pockets. According to a new report, Gen Zers are relying on mom and dad as a financial resource more than ever now. My next guest is financial planner and CPA Bill Denny. I talked to him about the situation and what you as parents should do. Your thoughts. Tell us what we're seeing out there.
Well, according to Bank of America, 47% of Gen Zers between the age of 18 and 28 years old are taking from mom and dad. They're still depending on mom and dad to pay for basic things. And, 18, 19, 20, that might be all right. But by the time you get to 22, 23, 20, 28, maybe they should be on their own. But it's a very difficult time for a lot of these young people launching into the workforce today.
There is not that aggressive nature, though, because we did a segment earlier where more young people are not interested in being promoted on the job. They want to live the life that they choose. Many of them call it soft living. So as a result, they are relying on the bank of mom and dad, like you said. And
they want soft living, but they also like to have all the goodies too. Challenge is because they want both sides to match up, and it's exactly what we're seeing, that they are trying to balance life experience and work. They had parents that were the baby boomers that put their whole lives into their career, and they say we don't want that same type of lifestyle, but we do want some of the goodies too, and it would be nice to get some help, especially as it's more difficult to launch. But you mentioned a good point about a lack of that aggression, perhaps, than we saw in previous generations, and that's even in getting their driver's licenses at 16 years of age. Many young people are saying they don't need it as quickly. They don't want to get that learner's permit at 15 and be free at 16, like a generation or so ago, where that was the symbol of freedom and independence. They tend to take longer to finish their college degrees. They tend to take longer to choose to get married if they get married, and taking longer to have children if they have children. They believe on doing life on their own terms, which is very freeing and in some ways very healthy. The challenge, though, is for some, they aren't budgeting perhaps as aggressively as what previous generations did. They're not sacrificing in the beginning. They're getting much of the beginning. They're getting some help. Or they may truly be having a challenge launch, but the parents are helping them out but putting their own financial success in jeopardy. We have this whole group of parents known as the sandwich generation that about the time they get their kids up and launched, because it's taking longer than ever before, then their own parents need help. And their parents need help with nursing home care that may not be covered by Medicare. They may need help in other ways, just financially making ends meet. And people as they are, they tend to give to their families, but sometimes they fail to take care of themselves first, which is probably a violation of an ultimate rule that the caregiver must take care of the caregiver first and then everybody else around them. Otherwise, the whole system crumbles.
Now, what's your best advice to parents out there who may be digging their own hole by helping their child who's not doing enough to provide support for themselves?
Well, I would love to think that it's a very nice, symbiotic, good relationship where we could pay for the kids now to get them launched with the understanding and conviction that they will be there for us when we hit that point where we can't produce, when we're in our 80s and 90s and might run out of money. However, in real world analysis and visiting, it doesn't always work that way. The very people that are paying to take care of their own parents and their own children find that neither side is available to help them when they reach their crisis in finance. And oftentimes I find that they may be helping a person, a family member who is not truly at a point where they're not going to get by without the help. They may be providing some of the benefits. Now, I think it's wonderful for a family to share the wealth with their children, to give the money now while we can see how the money is spent, not to leave money to future generations through a will, where you don't get the joy of taking care of families, maybe when they need it, when our children are buying their first houses because they're going to raise their own children. They don't need the house when they can finally afford it. They need it right now while they have the children. So it's good to be able to give now while you can, if you have the resources. But I think for a lot of people, they just don't know. Am I good or am I not good? Am I going to be okay if I give this or not? I see very few people who can do the analysis on their own to see what their needs are going to be for themselves over the next potential 20 to 30 years, and what can they afford to do for family members. And then to impart that to the family members to determine how much are wants and how much are needs. And when does it come to just tough budgeting and living without for a little while until we can afford some of the things like maybe previous generations did.
Don't go anywhere. We'll continue this conversation after the break. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. It can be tricky for parents navigating relationships with their adult children when those kids are still dipping into their parents' pockets. CPA and financial planner Bill Denny shares his insight on what you should do.
And would it be very difficult for some parents to simply say, no, do it on your own, like I did it?
Now, some families have no trouble doing that. They say, at 18, you're on your own. We gave you your life. You got your education. Go get it. But for other families, they're afraid of losing that relationship, or they're competing with the in-laws elsewhere. And they have other factors that are causing them maybe to make some very poor financial decisions for themselves. And oddly enough, even poor financial decisions for those they think they're going to help. Because instead of helping them out, you may be creating more bad habits that actually harm that individual in the long term. So I think that it's less likely that people are going to be too harsh than it is that they're going to be too giving. And that's part of having a society that's pretty comfortable. Parents are pretty comfortable right now. They may not have it totally made. They may not have their retirement secured, but they feel comfortable. And so when a little pressure from the family to help, they feel that calling to help. And it may be some tough love for yourself and for the kids too, to take care of yourself first and then take care of others.
Just like all financial planners tell you, pay yourself first and then take care of your bills. All right, Bill Denny, certified financial planner. Thank you for your advice here on The Factor Uncensored. For those who would like to hear more from you or know more about you, where can they go?
alicorninvestmentmanagement.com. That's ALICORN. Alicorn. It's a unicorn that flies. It doesn't just have the unicorn that's just rare. It's even super rare because it's a flying unicorn.
All right, Bill Denny, thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored. Appreciate your great advice tonight.